What's the story, everyone? Welcome back to Gaelic Games Fan TV. How are we? How is the form? Happy Christmas to everyone who's followed the channel, and we all wish you a very happy new year as well. It's the end of the year special, so we're going to be looking back at, I suppose, the entirety of the year across Gaelic games in both football, hurling, camogie, ladies football, just everything really that needs to be spoken about. We're going to have a bit of an end of the year quiz as well, so we're going to put Matthew up against Seamus to test out who is the more knowledgeable GA fan, and yeah, some interesting questions in there going back to the year. And yeah, anyone who's following along, we're not live, but for anyone who is following along, like, feel free to pop in the answers to your questions. Maybe not afterwards, like because obviously we don't know if you're telling the truth then or not, to be fair. But yeah, lads, how are we? Happy Christmas, all the rest. How was your Christmas, lads? Was it good?
Good, yeah. Good, happy enough. Sandy was good.
Yeah.
What about yourself, Matthew? Sure. Santa didn't bring Cork in All Ireland anyway?
No.
Didn't bring us one this year either.
No, he didn't.
Hopefully it will come in July 2025.
That's it.
Hopefully it'll come in July 2025. Yeah, that's the plan. But sure, yeah, 2025 is another year to look forward to. Definitely looking forward to it as a Cork fan, no doubt about that. I'm getting the Dan Casey confidence, lads. I don't know what it is.
Aaron was saying there, Santa's taking away lots from us across this Christmas period. He's taking Fenton away from us, McCarthy away from us. Oh no, Donald moved to the footballers.
Yeah, and there's rumours about a few other lads leaving now as well. So you don't really know, to be honest, with Dublin. But look, I suppose probably not been the best year. But to be fair, as Dublin fans, like, if we've been pretty spoiled down the years, that way. Like, so I think there'll be a lot of fans of other counties out there will just say, come on, like, after all you've done and achieved and everything else. But yeah, look, lads, it was an interesting year in terms of Gaelic football, in terms of hurling, and in terms of the GA overall. I suppose, Seamus, I'll come to you first. Like, looking back at the year in GA terms, like, what did you make of it? Was it a good year? Was it better than previous years? Or what did you make of the year in terms of everything GA related?
Yeah, I think definitely it was a mixed bag. And I think when we look at across the year, what I will say is that it will be a landmark year in the GA's history, because I think of a couple of reasons. So across the board, there were some genuinely huge achievements. Like, I'd say first up, you're looking at the F4C and the rules that they pass. Like, the impact that they're going to have on Gaelic football going forward is going to be potentially huge. Like, it's potentially going to be much more entertaining now to watch Gaelic football, and there will be a pre-F4C and post-F4C. And because of that, the 2024 calendar year and the 2024 GA season will always have an important place in the history of Gaelic football. For hurling, it was just a sublime year. Everything was just fantastic. The All-Ireland final, Matthew, myself and yourself were there, even though Cork were very, very unlucky and came out the wrong side. I think we both agreed it's one of the best games either of us have ever been at. It was just absolutely extraordinary to be there and see just hurling at its best, Irish sport at its best. And that game, the fact that it was on BBC, it was being seen by so many people, like, hurling really felt like that was a day where we were all appreciating just what an amazing game we have. So I think that final will go down in history as well. I think you look down at Louise Verhertig finally winning her All-Ireland title in the LGFA, and that was Kerry's first one in over 30 years. So that one again will go down in history. Cork winning in the camogie will definitely be important. I wouldn't say it's going to be as memorable because Cork have been winning so much in the last few years. They were the only one that didn't change. They were the only team that were kind of back at the winners' table again. Everything else changed in 2024. So I think it's going to be a year of change. You look at Offaly, for example, winning the under-20s. It's a clear sign that they're on the rise. So I think 2024 will be something that, like, 4 or 5 years down the line in 2028, 2029, when the whole landscape might be very different, you might look at 2023 and be like, wow, the GA was so different back then. And 2024 is definitely a bridge from the past into the future, in my opinion.
Yeah, like, it was definitely a year of surprises as well. Like definitely a lot of like when we run through kind of some achievements of the year and everything else, there was definitely some big kind of shocks in there.
Dublin and Limerick losing as well. Sorry, I didn't say. That's like from the dominance that they had, for that to be broken was huge.
What did you make of the year, Matthew?
I thought everything that Seamus said there, hurling was seemed on top of the world this year. Like even the semi-final between Cork and Limerick, we were also there, Seamus. It was just never felt kind of in a Cork game. I've never felt such an atmosphere take hold of Croke Park since the Cork and Dublin game of the football in 2010. Like that was just unreal in so many ways. The Decky Dalton point, the 2 Pat Collins saves, the Brian Hayes goal. The atmosphere just that day was unreal. And even the Clare game, even the Tony Kelly goal, it's one of those moments where you just put your hands up and say, you just have to appreciate brilliance. And that was one of my moments of the year, coincidentally, that goal alone. It just epitomised what hurling is all about. Like the skill of the game, it's absolutely incredible in its own right. Football, there was change, and it was good change. Armagh winning the All-Ireland, Donegal winning the Ulster Championship. We went into a stage in the Donegal-Galway game. I remember the semi-final thinking, I don't care who wins, because both sides are kind of new to this stage, and we would have been delighted for both sides to reach the final. Galway got it over the line at the end there. But fair play to Armagh for getting over the line, and it was a change in the guard of Gaelic football. But in terms of the quality of Gaelic football this year, and a lot of Ulster people obviously did dominate the whole landscape of Gaelic football. They don't want to change. We look at the whole games of Gaelic football this year, like even mine picking game of the year and things like that, it's very, very hard to pick it. Look at even putting Dublin Mayo in there, Dublin Galway, and I don't think they were necessarily great games of football. So it was a difficult year for people to watch Gaelic football, especially the Derry and Kerry game in Croke Park, which nearly set the whole population to sleep. So, like, it was a change Gaelic football, definitely. And I think the FRC rules, we might look back at those and think, this is great for Gaelic football. This is going to change the landscape of it, and hopefully for the better teams will start to attack. What James didn't mention there, I thought the club championship this year, with the amount of dynasties that were over, was absolutely incredible in its own right. Kilmacud Crokes losing to Coola win their first ever Dublin championship in their history. Watty Graves Lane losing to Newbridge when nobody expected it at all in Derry. St. Thomas's losing to Cap Tackle. We obviously seen a team I'm involved in the backward team, SARS, topple Ballygunner, which was probably one of my highlights of the year personally. I just think that was unreal for that group of players. After the defeat they took to Ballygunner in 23 to overcome it in 24 was just unreal in so many ways. And you could see the emotion on Johnny Crowley's face afterwards in many ways. The game between Rory Oak and Cushadall and Shlott Neal in the Hurling Championship in club as well. Like, there were some stories in the club championship that we'll never forget this year as well. And obviously that is still ongoing. So yeah, it's been a brilliant year for competition, I would say, up and down the country. Like even the Camogie through Clonlara reaching the All-Ireland final, nobody really expected that. You could say that in the Camogie game. Dublin beating Kilkenny in the quarter-final. Like, there were some shocks here and there in the Camogie, but overall I agree with Seamus. Cork were probably the outstanding team throughout the year, and they were going to win it overall. But when you look at the other three codes, there were shocks happening up and down the championships. You look at the club championship as well, shocks everywhere. The only negative was the quality of Gaelic football, but hopefully that'll be fixed next year.
Yeah, and I suppose like we kind of ran through some of them there, but I suppose we'll start off looking back at some of the big moments or even some of the big achievements of 2024. As you said there, Armagh winning the All-Ireland obviously stands out. Clare winning the All-Ireland as well. Like both coincidentally in very similar scenarios, like both didn't win their provincial titles. Both actually didn't knock out the previous year's champions. Both have been, at different stages, even halfway through the championship, people were saying, is Brian Lohan taking Clare in the right direction? Is Kieran McGeeney taking Armagh in the right direction? But I suppose Seamus, like both stood up and like equally two incredible achievements for two counties who had long waits in ending All Irelands.
Yeah, no, and both of them were kind of in similar positions after they lost their provincial finals, I felt. And like, correct me if you think different, lads, but I remember at the time the narrative around Clare, especially around Clare, after they lost the Munster final. When they lost in 2022 in that epic game to Limerick, and they lost, after extra time, Tony Kelly had got that sideline to send it to extra time. There was a lot of sympathy towards Clare. There was a lot of like, God, they're so good. But Limerick were just that little bit better. And, they're just existing in the wrong era now. If it wasn't for Limerick, they'd be cleaning up Munster titles. There was that kind of sentiment. And this year, when they lost to Limerick, there was no sympathy for them. I remember everyone was like, well, you threw it away yourselves. You can't keep falling short. And then they fell short in a way that had people convinced that they weren't going to do anything really for the rest of the year. Like, if not saying people completely wrote Clare off, but that was the time where people were, well, they're definitely not going to win an All-Ireland now, because people thought to win an All-Ireland, they were going to have to run through Limerick to do it. Nobody thought that Limerick wouldn't be there in the All-Ireland final. Like, Matthew, I was listening back to me and you doing a pod. I think it was round 2 in the Munster Championship, and we were saying that the time to get Limerick was in Munster. So there was a real feeling that if Limerick got out of Munster, it was going to be too late and they were going to be impossible to stop. So that was the kind of sentiment. Once Clare lost the Munster final, nobody would have expected that they would win the All-Ireland when it was all said and done. Cork beating Limerick, I'm not saying that it was, like, I'm not saying particularly that Clare wouldn't have beaten Limerick in the final. I just think Clare are a better stylistic matchup for Cork than they are for Limerick. And I think Cork are a better stylistic matchup for Limerick than Clare are, because Cork have that pace, they have that goal threat. Clare actually showed more of a goal threat in the All-Ireland final than I'd seen from them up to this point in the championship. But yeah, Armagh as well, similar position. Like, once they lost the penalty shootout, the sympathy had kind of gone. It was still there because it was like, God, they're so unlucky again. But now it was starting to turn into, they're not closing out these games. They're throwing them away all the time. They're always ahead going into the final few minutes, and they just bottle it and they end up in penalty shootouts. How have they not been practicing penalties enough to win one? Like, there was that kind of narrative. So both of them came back from situations like that. Lohan had people questioning his leadership, of course, and McGeeney barely kept his job at the start of the year. So for both of them to end up where they ended up at the end of the season, hats off to both of them. And yeah, two very, very similar stories.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like, and even looking at some other things as well, Matthew, like, yeah, the Offaly under-20s win their first ever All-Ireland. That was obviously a huge moment. Cork beating Limerick in their own right. Galway beating Dublin, like the first time Galway had beaten Dublin since 1934. Interesting enough, like, Limerick won 6 Munster titles in a row, and that was the first time it was ever done. And that probably seems to be getting maybe swept under the carpet a little bit with the fact they obviously lost to Cork and the fact that Clare obviously won the All-Ireland. I think a lot of people are forgetting that. And you had Donegal winning Ulster as well, which I think should be mentioned. They hadn't won the Ulster title, I think, since 2019. But I think given where they were, like last year when they lost it down, first year McGuinness, beating Derry, Tyrone and Armagh via penalties. So, like, overall, there's been some big other kind of moments there as well.
Massive, yeah. And in terms of the moments, it's so listed here, like, obviously Armagh and Clare winning their respective All-Ireland titles. The Galway players, like, it's important to mention moments like this as well in the year, which are genuinely emotional. The Galway players honouring John O'Malley, the All-Ireland semi-final against Donegal, when they were standing for the national anthem. I thought that was a great moment. It signified what a great man John O'Malley was, and obviously we lost Jody Gormley, Micheál Hurtig, Caelan Finnegan, John O'Malley, to name a few, and they were great Gaelic Games men more than anything. And obviously it was a tough year for families of those people, but it was great for Galway to honour a great man like John O'Malley there. I thought just for singular moments, for the Cork hurlers in particular, the hockey penalty against Limerick in the Munster Championship, which shook the Blackrock end. I wasn't at the game now, but I heard some people say they were living near Parky Heave that night and they actually felt the place shake. And like, it was just an incredible moment in all those kind of scenarios. It was just a brilliant moment for the whole of Cork that Hoggy stuck away the penalty. And Kingston, obviously, to win the penalty from Kyle Hayes as well was just a brilliant piece of speed coming on from Shane Kingston's point of view there. The Pat Collins save from Argalan, like I look back at it more and more as the end of year review stuff came up, and it's only now you realise what a save that was. To put your body on the line in front of a rascal of a shot from Argalan, and Pat Collins did that. Like, it was just a brilliant save, and as well as that, he made a save in the second half, which ended up in Dickie Dalton scoring a scorcher of a point from miles outside the goal. So it was a brilliant moment there. I think another emotional kind of moment. I don't know if you remember this, as Peter Casey getting injured against Tipperary, horrific injury, obviously. Ruled them out for the whole season. After Limerick won the Munster Championship, the Limerick players actually went to the bench to join Peter Casey while the other Limerick players the Limerick fans were celebrating the Munster Championship. And it probably just showed the togetherness of the Limerick team. And it's probably lost in sight that they lost the car, but it was just the togetherness overall in that Limerick team cannot be understated. And obviously Peter Casey, he seems to be recovering now, which is absolutely great news. He's going to recover for next season. So it was just a horrific injury for him, and just for the players to make him feel part of the squad, even though he wasn't in the matchday squad at the time, was just absolutely incredible in its own right. I don't Louise before Hurtig finally winning the All-Ireland. I know the Cork and Kerry rivalry and all that, but for her, one of the greatest NGFA players of her recent memory. To win an All-Ireland finally, what turned out to be her last season playing the sport, was just a brilliant moment. And I think it was one of those players that deserved an All-Ireland. If she went to retire without winning a Brendan Barclay Cup, it would have been an absolute travesty, because she is an absolutely incredible footballer. Top scorer over the last few seasons. This year she wasn't probably at her best, but just about getting over the line this year. And Louise and Kerry managed to get over the line this year. It was just an incredible moment. That I thought Leitrim ladies football is winning the intermediate championship. Just in context for this, Leitrim are a Division 4 team. They're fourth in Division 4 in the Little National League. For them to go up to senior from intermediate is just absolutely incredible. I said this to Seamus as well. It's the equivalent of Longford getting a place in the Sam Maguire Cup, or something like 10th or 11th in the Sam Maguire Cup. It's just a miraculous achievement. And obviously Leitrim, they played some great football. Like the Tyrone game in the All-Ireland final, I thought that was football game of the year personally. Like, the organised chaos of that game was absolutely outstanding. And I thought both teams deserved a lot of credit for playing football the way it should be played. And that day in Croke Park was just brilliant in its own right. A few other moments, like Ian McGrath, obviously having a child in February and then winning the All-Ireland 10 months later was absolutely an incredible turnaround. Joe McElroy's block in the All-Ireland final. If you want to epitomise a hero without a cape, there's Joe McElroy.
Yes.
He's absolutely incredible. And on Paul Conroy as well. And the funny thing is, Paul Conroy would have been the joint top scorer for play if he got that point as well. So, like he deserves footballer of the year. There's no doubt about it. That's another discussion. But that's what heroes are made of. McElroy's block, and he's probably one of the most understated men in the Armagh team. And for him to make a moment count like that is absolutely incredible. And one more moment as well: the Tipperary Miners winning the All-Ireland with 13 men on the pitch against Kilkenny in the hurling was at Nolan Park, by the way. Was an incredible achievement for those young players. And Tipperary, I would say the senior team did not probably please the Tipperary fans in many facets. But when you look at it, Nina CBS won the Dr. Hartley Cup, which is the Munster competition for schools level. The Tipperary Miners won the All-Ireland, and the Tipperary Under-20s reached the final, which they eventually lost to Offaly. So while the Tipperary seniors are struggling right now, I think the future is bright for them. And if they get it right with nurturing these young talented players, they go well in the next few years, in my opinion. There was a lot of talent coming through Tipperary. So, those are a few moments, but some excellent moments of the year when you look back at it.
Yeah, definitely in terms of achievements. Like, I think there's definitely, like, when I think back to 2023, there isn't like too many moments that like stick out in my head or like pop out like straight away. Whereas I feel like last year, although as you said, like the quality of Gaelic football maybe as a whole definitely wasn't to the standard. And we get onto games of the year maybe now in a couple of minutes, and we'll probably struggle maybe to pick one for football, whereas for hurling we've got like so many options. But yeah, like so many poignant moments, like you said there as well. I think another one I wanted to highlight as well was Niall Grimley. When Armagh won the All-Ireland, he dedicated that win to his late brother who passed away back in November of 2023. So yeah, like that was kind of another poignant moment as well. In terms of like achievement of the year, Seamus, though, if you had to bundle them all together, like what would you look towards in terms of like the most significant achievement of 2024?
It's very difficult. I feel like all of the ones that Matthew brought up are all really, really good. I feel like as fans, I feel like it's what makes you feel something on a level. Like when you see something like, as you said, Niall Grimley winning the All Ireland, dedicating it to his brother, that does hit. Like it's like, wow, what a thing to do. The Galway players doing the V for John O'Mahony, like it was such a beautiful moment. Those moments really hit home because of the emotion that they carry with them. Me personally, achievement of the year, like I think for the journey that she went on, I think you do have to look at Louise a little bit and like how long she was on the road, how she lost back-to-back All-Ireland finals. And I remember the 2023 All-Ireland final where Dublin beat Kerry, that felt significant. That felt like a big missed opportunity at the time, I remember. Because when they lost to Meath, it was like they were a fresh new team on the block. Meath had won the All-Ireland the year previous, and they were actually the more experienced out of the two. And it just felt like it was too soon for Kerry. Whereas 2023, the fact that they went to Parnell Park and beat Dublin, that kind of rubber stamp that they were ready to win an All-Ireland that year. And Dublin were just a better team on the day. And I remember at that time thinking, we won this All-Ireland and we didn't have Sinead Goldrick. If she comes back next year, we're going to be even better. Are Kerry realistically going to get as good a chance as that again? But this year they were on it from the get-go, and Louise had a big part in that. And to finally win an All-Ireland, I think with the journey that she went on, I think you do have to look at that as a serious contender. Limerick winning 6 Munsters is absolutely absurd. I think we do obviously have to consider that as well. It's very difficult. I like to look at the miracle stories as well. Like Kildare Strandhill winning Connacht, beating Pádraig Pearse is absolutely insane. There's some crazy stories like that where you never ever would have seen that coming. As Matthew said there as well, SARS getting absolutely annihilated by Ballygunner last year and then beating them this year is such an incredible turnaround. So there's a lot of options. I'll probably give it to Louise, and like how long she's been going for that All-Ireland to finally get her hands on it. Actually, no, I'm not going to. I'm going to give it to the 13 tip miners that beat Kilkenny, because that is extraordinary. Like, I genuinely watched that game back. Like, the highlights are up on YouTube, and anything that could have gone wrong went wrong for them. Like, anything that could have, like 2 men sent off, which I feel like red cards are quite hard to get in minor hurling, but they got 2 of them pretty quickly, and the way that they just fought to the bitter end in Kilkenny's backyard. Let's be real, like unbelievable achievement. And as you were saying, it was a bleak year for Tipperary hurling at senior level. Like they really, that day against Cork in Semple Stadium is one of the darkest days in Tip hurling that I've seen. So to have a bit of hope, like a beacon in the future that there's a team coming here that can put us back on the map, I think that will give a massive boost. So yeah, for those lads, I'd say that's probably my personal GA moment of the year.
Yeah, I think a Tipperary one as well is a big one. Even going back to early 2024 as well, you had Glenn winning the All-Ireland as well, to be fair, and he obviously had St. Thomas coming through in hurling as well. Like, and I know that feels like it was back in January of last year, so you nearly kind of you nearly think that's back in 2023, but it was actually in 2024. In terms of a standout achievement for yourself, Matthew, what would you point towards?
I funny enough would have said the tip miners as well. Just as Seamus rightly said there, everything that could have gone wrong did go wrong, and they got out the right side of it, which was absolutely incredible in its own right. So just to kind of mix it up a bit, I'm going to mention another one. I'm going to go with the Leitrim team that won the intermediate LGA title. Just the context behind this. A few stories with the team itself. Like Charlie Tyrrell, for example, the fullback. I'm not exactly sure the story though off the top of my head, but I think she was a mother at the age of 27 or 28. She spent 10 years outside of Gaelic football. She didn't play Gaelic football for 10 seasons. She then starts in an All-Ireland final in Croke Park at the age of 37 and wins it in the intermediate level. And just this Leitrim team in general as well. I mentioned it before as well, but they were fourth in Division 4. They didn't even get out of Division 4, and they're going to play senior next year. They're going to play against the likes of Dublin, a Kerry, a Galway, a Cork, a Meath next season, which is absolutely in the championship, which is absolutely incredible. And it gave Leitrim football, men and women in general, a boost. Because obviously the men got to the Division 4 final in the Alliance League, which was a great achievement for themselves as well. But maybe it will give the men a bit of confidence to say that they can reach the high heights. Like it can't be like Division 3 isn't just the ceiling. They could push on even further. Look at what the ladies are doing at the moment. So I think that's probably my achievement of the year as well. That there are some excellent achievements. Kilcurran, Clonborden, LGFA winning 4 in a row, and now I think they're the second. They're the joint second most consecutive All-Ireland winning team. I think Ballymacarbery have the most with 7. So they're going to chase them down, no doubt about it. Sarsfields Camogie obviously winning 4 All-Irelands in 6 years. Watty Grimsden, as you mentioned there, Aaron. Derry minor footballers as well, maybe. Like I know it was easy enough for them to win the All-Ireland, but they won it last year as well. So that's a great group of young players coming through there from Derry. The Tyrone under 20 footballers as well. I know they beat Kerry quite easily enough in the final, but that Tyrone under 20 team, there are some stars in that team. There really are, and I really would expect them to go up to senior next year and make a statement. There's no doubt about that. There are so many achievements, there's no doubt about that, but I think Tipperary minor hurling and Leitrim, the Leitrim intermediate ladies footballers take the crown for me.
Yeah, it's hard to look past like 2 of them in fairness, and I will have another video like coming out in the next couple of days, kind of breaking down all the achievements and my own kind of rankings of them. But yeah, without a doubt, I think those 2 are in the conversation. And I think even as well, like even if it is maybe a bit more of a mainstream achievement or talked about a lot, but I think both Armagh and Clare, like those All-Ireland wins, Tony Kelly's performance in particular, and that All-Ireland final for Clare was just breathtaking. Like for him to have been injured for most of the year, been written off, there was literally receipts on the internet of people saying he doesn't turn up in big games and all this crack, and then he goes and produces probably one of the best All-Ireland final performances I think I've ever seen. So I'd probably look at Tony Kelly's performance for Clare in the All-Ireland final versus Cork. Looking at game of the year, then we do have some interesting choices here. Seamus, in terms of both football and hurling game of the year, what would you look towards?
I think hurling game of the year, I think starting off, actually, so 3 candidates for hurling, and they all are Munster teams. So first option is Cork against Limerick in the Munster Championship down in Páirc Uí Chaoimh. That game was unbelievable. Like I remember being at that game and being like, if I wanted to bring someone from a different country to a hurling match and show them this is what hurling's all about, I'd bring them to that Cork and Limerick game in the Munster Championship. It was just amazing. Like the quality of the goals, the fact that it was so back and forth as well, and the fact that that was one of those games as well where even though Limerick lost, like I said this I think on the GAA at the time, but I was like, it showed just how good you had to beat Limerick. Like it showed like Cork were amazing and they still barely got over the line. Like if Huggy isn't given that penalty, if he misses that penalty, who knows how the All-Ireland turns out. Maybe we're sitting here talking about Limerick doing 5 in a row and that sweeps all the awards. Cork getting out of Munster was fantastic for the championship because they brought the crowds with them to Croke Park. And yeah, that game was unbelievable. And to have that snapshot, as Matthew said at the end, where Horgan's penalty hits the back of the net and the crowd erupts in a way that you very rarely see. It was just unbelievable. So I think I'd have to go. That one is definitely a contender. The All-Ireland final between Cork and Clare is crazy. Like, that game was just, it had everything. It had two of the best goals I've ever seen in All-Ireland finals. Rob Downey's and Tony Kelly's. Both of them were just ridiculous. Mark Rogers' goal was sensational as well. Like, there were so many moments that were just outstanding. And then the final one is actually Cork and Limerick in the All-Ireland semi-final. I thought that was an unbelievable game. And notice, it's all Cork. Cork are box office, and they were box office this season. If Cork were on, you could guarantee that a massive crowd was going to turn up, and Cork were going to go for goals pretty much from the get-go. So long may it continue at you in 25. I'd probably say out of them three, though, my personal favourite game was Cork Limerick in the Munster Championship. I just thought that had everything.
Yeah, you can't really disagree with that. Like, that was an absolute cracker, in fairness. In terms of football, I mean, there isn't, you definitely don't have the same options, maybe, but is there any games that stand out there?
Yeah, you're right. The football, there's not as many that jump off the page in terms of them being incredible games. From a rogue standpoint, Coola Kilmacud Crokes in the Dublin final was a great game. Like, a lot of people really enjoyed that one. I think if you're looking into the championship, it is difficult because, like, we tend, when there's memories and everything like that, like, for example, when people talk about Dublin and Mayo in 2021 is a perfect example. People talk about, oh, what a game that was. No, it wasn't. It wasn't a great game. Like, Dublin were just worse than Mayo were that day. Both teams didn't play to the level that they were capable of. Mayo made hard work out of a Dublin team that were hanging on. Galway Dublin this season wasn't as good a game as I think people are trying to remember it as. Galway had the flurry at the end where they got the points, but if you look at the first half, it was a very bang average game, and that's what kind of sold everybody into this. Dublin are going to do what they always do. They're going to find a way to win, and it's going to be quite a boring All-Ireland quarter-final. I think from a pure drama standpoint, the All-Ireland semi-final, Armagh Kerry definitely was enthralling in a way. Like, it was very, very entertaining from the start to the finish. In terms of pure quality, it is actually staggering how nothing really jumps out. That's why it's so obvious that we needed these changes, because the All-Ireland final wasn't a good game. It was definitely, from being there, the atmosphere was incredible, and it felt like a very, very big deal, which it obviously is. But in terms of, like, if you were in the park walking past with your dog and you saw, a Gaelic football match and you watched that for 5 minutes, you'd probably walk on, if we're being honest. So, like, it wasn't something that had you thinking, God, I need to see this. Football game of the year. Like, it is really difficult to pick one. I don't know, do you have one?
The one I went for. Yeah, you go for it.
Leitrim or Tyrone in the intermediate final.
That's a very good shout. That's a very good shout. That is a very good shout.
The one I was looking towards was Dublin Derry in the league final. Thought that was a bit of a mental game. It had, like, lots of goals, drama, penalties. Obviously Dublin lost it in the end, but, like, that was a mad game. Like, you had Owen McAvoy, like, putting in an absolute masterclass of a performance. I remember the couple of goals he got. Dublin obviously pulling it back at the end.
The goal at the end was nuts.
Yeah,
like the Greg McEnany goal. I remember. Yeah, that's my one actually. If that game was an All Ireland final,
like, yeah, be talking about for
years. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like it is weird. Like, in terms of the championship, like, there aren't really too many standout games. Like, the final was fairly poor. As you said, the Armagh Kerry game, I don't think was the best game necessarily, but it had maybe some moments, like going down the home stretch, like going into extra time and everything else. I think
was any game from the quarterfinal on? Was any game from the quarterfinal on a brilliant
like
game?
Donegal Louth to a certain extent had a little bit of entertainment. It was very high scoring, but even at that, I think a lot of people felt like you always felt like Donegal were winning the game.
Yeah,
You
I
never
never felt
like
Louth were going to
Louth
win.
were really truly in it. The Galway Dublin game, yeah, to a certain extent, but like there was a lot of chances missed in that second half. Like so many, like Galway won the game, but you'll remember the amount of chances they missed to actually put the game to bed, as well. Like Dublin Mayo, to be fair, in the group stages was a decent match. Like that was, I think that was 17 apiece. Like that was a decent game in fairness.
Another one actually, that's, and it wasn't even shown on GAA or RT. Cork against Donegal and Parky Rin.
Yeah.
That's like, I was privileged to be at that game. Absolutely glad to be at that game. Cork won a 3-9 to 16 points, but it was mind-boggling that day. I remember that day specifically. GAA did not show Cork and Donegal, and they showed Dublin and Cavan instead, which was a whitewash. It was like, are you trying to promote the game, lads? This is actually a serious question. You know, it was really, really poor. I think Aaron put up a TikTok as well about the Cork and Donegal game, saying that, oh, it was great to see it on RT, it was great to see it on GAA. And it was like, oh, for God's sake, lads, seriously, why did you not show this game? Like, literally, people were glued at social media, Joe McCarthy's tweets on Matty Taylor's goal and Rory Maguire's goal, because it was such an enthralling game of football. But unfortunately, nobody across the island had the privilege of seeing it, which is another issue in its own right. Like, should we screen more games of Gaelic football? Should we choose our games properly? You know, so that's definitely one to be talked about. There's no doubt about that. That's one of the football games of the year, and it wasn't even shown. It's mind-boggling when you think about it.
Especially in today's day and age. Hopefully, like, obviously we're hearing about GAA like about the GAA buying out RTE out of the rights of showing the games. I don't know necessarily what that means. Does that mean that more games are going to be behind the paywall now? Does that mean that it's going to be even more controversial? Because let's be honest, as we all know, we're sitting here in December. We can all put our bottom dollar on it. You know, come June, there's going to be a raging debate going on about GAA. And it doesn't, like, about whatever game is shown. Realistically, it's probably going to be Cork, because they seem to like putting Cork games behind the paywall. It will be, I don't think they'd ever really put that many Dublin games on it, because obviously Dublin have the biggest, I'd say, probably in terms of like market, I'd say that they'd want to get Dublin the most for RTE. But maybe now that they're being bought out, maybe we'll see more Dublin games on it. You never know. But what we can guarantee is they're going to go for a big fan base. They're going to go for a Dublin or a Cork or a Limerick or a Tyrone. And they'll go for one of them. A Mayo actually is a good shout as well, because Mayo are so passionate. Offaly as well, I think, would be another candidate. Like pound for pound, Offaly fans would buy that up. I think we'll see a raging debate kick off in June about putting games behind the paywall again. But maybe Simon Harris won't talk about it because it's not an election year this time.
Maybe not. Like, I think, like, not to go into it, but I think, if GAA do buy out RTE and then everything is behind the paywall, I think that could be the end for the GAA, to be honest with you, because, like, so many people are just not going to be interested anymore. People are going to tune out. You're going to lose a huge, like, large degree of audience as well who won't be able to see games, and they never really promote their games. You never really see highlights anywhere, so it's going to be very hard to actually keep up with it unless you have GAA Go. But yeah, moving on from that, in terms of like any looking at things from a more lighthearted note, like any funny moments of the year or moments that made you giggle or laugh throughout the GAA. I was trying to think of ones earlier, and there weren't too many. I could think of.
I have a list, Aaron.
You have a list, right? I'll let you take it away.
Right. Number one, I don't know if you remember this, lads, on GAA Go, coincidentally. Paddy Andrews critiquing Kildare shooting against Loud. Like, every time Kildare got a wide, you could just hear Paddy Andrews in the background of co-commentary, like, oh, Jesus Christ. Like, that was one of the funny moments for me. Oisin O'Donoghue of Castlemaine Corbucks getting an own point Did you see this on Clubber?
I was thinking of that one actually. Yeah, that was
That
bizarre.
was
He
mental.
literally-
I remember seeing that.
Yeah, but as well, it wasn't like other own points where it was like an actual mistake. Like he actually like he fully intended to put it over the bar, but he just forgot what way he was shooting. Like that's simply it.
The thing is, like Cashel won the game comprehensively, so I think O'Shea would actually look back and laugh now.
Yeah,
But I think he said in an interview, if we lost by a point, I'm not going to live this down. You know, so thankfully from his point of view, that Cashel went down and won the game. A pretty obvious one, the Seagull in the All-Ireland final, man of the match, lads.
Yeah.
You can't really forget him. That was the memorable moment of the All-Ireland final, which probably epitomises the quality of Gaelic football. But yeah, the Seagull really stole the show, didn't they? Paddy Andrews
Did
not
you
wearing
see that?
socks
Did
and
you see that
G8.
TikTok actually? I think it was from some. I just seen it. It was a girl from Armagh put it up. That was brilliant. You see, it was like I think she was eating an ice cream or something in like some town square, and she was like just trying to eat my ice cream in peace, but this lad won't stop trying to chat me up, telling me that he started in the All Ireland final. And then she turned the camera around, and it was just a seagull. But like the way she shot it and all, it was brilliant. And like. That was the fact that the Seagull got so much attention. I mean, spoke volumes.
It did, yeah, definitely. Paddy Andrews not wearing socks at GA goal. That's maybe a light hearted one. Darragh Canavan doing an interview barefooted. I noticed he that at GA goal. That was a pretty funny moment. Hannah Looney saying after the All-Ireland Camogie final that she'd bungee jump off the Shandon Bells in Cork. Like, Hannah Looney's wacky at the best of times. Like, that was a brilliant kind of a quote from her. So yeah, that was a brilliant quote from Hannah, no doubt about it. Two players doing the same Cole Palmer celebration, actually. Rob Finnerty against Sligo and Joe Goose against Kilcoo. Like, especially the Joe Goose one, it seemed like he had great fun doing it.
Do you know the meaning behind the Joe Goose one?
What was it?
There was a meaning behind the Joe Goose one. Basically, if you watch the highlights from the Kilcoo Scottstown game, one of the Kilcoo lads, I think it was Caleb Doherty, he did the Cole Palmer celebration when they scored their like fourth goal or something. So there were people commenting on that goal saying that Goose did that celebration as a way to be like, like, you know, what you know, you're not having it your own way type thing this time. Because they had it the wrong way against Scottstown. Bit of mental warfare there, maybe, or maybe he just likes celebration.
I'm puzzled why Rob Finnerty would do it against Sligo in a game that Galway clearly struggled. But that goal won them the game, and he still did it. Like, it was.
Yeah,
like,
it's not really a cold moment. I remember everybody.
Yeah. That was just like that was like the ultimate level of trolling. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's like when you see on Twitter and you see like, I don't know, like, I suppose Man City's a bad example now because they're brutal, but if they beat like Ipswich 5-0 or something, and then you've people on Twitter like just being shameless, like celebrating it and going absolutely nuts. Or that would almost be the equivalent of when Dublin won the Leinster title and Con O'Callaghan starts doing like the Cole Palmer celebration or something like that. Like, it was very shameless. Thankfully enough for Rob Finnerty and Galway, they went on to I mean, they didn't win the All-Ireland, but they went on to have a very good year, to be fair. So you could argue like that was maybe his celebration was the turning point. I don't know.
Maybe so. A few others like Sean O'Halpy, don't know, did you see this on Clubber getting ambushed by his own team in celebrating? He was doing an interview at Clubber, then the whole team went down to celebrate with Sean O. That was a brilliant moment. Two YouTubers taking spotlight in Gaelic football. I Show Speed playing football in Fermanagh was definitely up there, and KSI buying a Leash jersey was up there as well. Like, just for those kind of internet personalities to, you know, embrace Gaelic games was another thing in itself. This was online. I don't know exactly who it was, but I see that the Gaelic Corners Instagram. I did a few bits of research and stuff like that in preparation for the end of year awards, and there was a guy scored an own goal with the outside of his boot. I don't know who it was, but I don't think he's not going to live that down for a while. There's no doubt about that. Paul Conroy getting his jersey ripped against Kerry and it looked like a cardigan. Last round of the league unknown. Do you remember that, where it was ripped right down the centre? And yeah, that the internet went wild at that time, no doubt about it. Bernard Casey's Super Value Park video at the start of the year. Seamus, I think you've seen it. That was And that was really, really a funny video. Even as a Cork fan, you have to laugh at it. It
Throw
is
in Supermax getting sued by the GA.
Yeah, I was just thinking that one.
Be careful,
That
that's
was
just
pretty pretty out there.
another couple. I don't know, is this a yearly thing now? He's gone now, with Larry McCarthy getting Ryan McGill's name wrong in the trophy presentation in the Sigerson Cup. Like, that was up there for funny moments. And
Do you know what that reminded me of? Have you ever heard Tito Ortiz? You ever heard of Tito Ortiz?
I've heard of him. Yeah,
UFC fighter.
UFC.
He's just comical for like always saying things wrong. Like I think he was quoted as saying like, "Oh, I'm in good shape. I want to outlive my children." And everyone was like, "Huh?"
Yeah, and then was it him as well? There was another one, and he was like, instead of saying I want to fight, he said I want to something else.
Oh yeah.
Which I won't say, but yeah, and but bizarre.
Yeah, and one more moment as well. Aidan Forker's response tweet to not being called not a data analyst. That was comedic gold.
Yeah,
that was really, really good. And so there was a good few funny moments, but to choose one, I would say probably the Oran point. But it was just great to see iShow Speed and KSI taking Gaelic games in a sense as well. So there was a lot of funny moments.
Yeah, the iShow Speed one is just bizarre because he's like one of the biggest streamers in the world. And there he was like playing Gaelic football in Fermanagh, and even watching him play, it was just like obviously didn't know the rules. Obviously, you wouldn't expect him to, but it was just mental. Like, and then he like the fella he was going up against, he just ripped him inside and out. And that was just very funny. And it was kind of bizarre to think like there wasn't like even Fermanagh GEA or something like that didn't even capitalize a bit more on that, because that was like, and even like Leash as well with KSI, like they definitely could have done something there that would have been really good to promote their own county, blah blah blah. But look, this is the GA we're talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? There's probably
it's realistically in those counties, it's probably someone that has forgotten the password and is probably locked out and is
has to set up.
Like you're right. You literally had two of the biggest internet personalities, like definitely for our generation, top 20. Like there's very few people, lads, that are our age that don't know who Speed is and don't know who KSI is.
Yeah, like even if you don't like them or you hate them, like you'd still
know who they are.
You know who they are, 100%.
And they come in and they wear your jersey, they play in your club, everything like this. Like there's at least a part you could reach out to them and be like, "Do you want to try this? Do you want to play a game? Do you want to do a training session?" Like, it just boosts the interest.
100%. In terms of like funniest moments of the year for myself, probably would look towards that poor El Seagull as well. Now I hope it was looked after, and I hope it is okay and it's doing all right out there. Because we don't want to wish anything bad on the poor Seagulls now, even if they do try and rob your lunch when you're sitting outside for your lunch or something. But hopefully that Seagull is all right. But I remember being at that game, and like a few of the fans were like mentioning it, and like I've seen Seagulls in Leinster finals and blah blah blah, like flying around and making Croke Park their own home. But for an All-Ireland final, for that to happen was a little bit bizarre. But like I suppose that wraps up kind of funniest moments of the year. Like I have kind of like a surprise of the year or like upset of the year or something of that nature. Anything kind of come to mind there? I mean, like a few surprise results here and there. Like you obviously had I suppose Cork beating Donegal, Galway beating Dublin, but anything come to your mind, lads?
My biggest one was Pearse's losing to Kildare. Like very, very recently, but lads, I was so confident in Pearse's. Like after they beat Bridget's and Curra Finn, I was like, right, they're at least getting out of Connacht. Like they're coming up against Kildare Strandhill side that have never won the Connacht Championship, that haven't shot the lights out in any of their games. They've been very impressive in terms of how they got this far. But Pearse's are on a different level, man. And the way that Kildare just stayed in the game, never dropped the heads, never gave up. Because let's be honest,
I think it was 45 minutes into the game when Declan Kenny scored the penalty. Pierces were now 4 points up. At that point, I was like, this is done. There's no way that Coolera, they put in a good fight, but Pierces are going to kick on now and win this by 5 or 6. And the way that they just fought back was just extraordinary. I'd say that's right up there for me. I think Dublin losing to Galway, both in men's Gaelic football and women's Gaelic football, has to be looked at. Both of them, they were huge shocks. How bad Galway were this year? Can we count that as a shock? How bad they were in hurling? Like, they were so bad.
To be fair, Seamus, I called it. I called it for the very off. So, my personal point of view, I would be shocked by that. But I know some people out there that would be shocked.
Yeah, you had Antrim beating Wexford as well, Dublin beating Kilkenny in Camogie. But any other standout for you?
Just in a bad way, I suppose. Derry's downfall since the league. That game against Donegal where they conceded 4 goals.
That nearly counts as a funny moment as well, doesn't it? Derry just completely imploding.
You don't want to make enemies at the stage, Aaron, but like it's I think when you look at it overall, the championship, they only won 1 game outright against Westmeath. They beat Mayo on penalties. I know Seamus said.
That could be one. Me predicting Mayo to beat the brakes off Derry. And I wasn't having anybody say anything different. I was like, no, you're not getting it.
Unfortunately.
There was another few as well. Kildare's collapse in Division 2 and going into the championship. Like, didn't think Kildare would be good enough to go up from Division 2 to Division 1, but I didn't think they'd lose 7 games. That was one of those moments that make your jaw drop. Another one, I suppose, in terms of results business. Remember London hammering Offaly in the Tailteann Cup? I think it was, 220 to 12 points or something like that? And that was a result that literally made my jaw drop. I was like, what happened there? Like, Offaly were so good and underage. They did well enough at stages against Dublin in the Leinster semi-final. And then they get absolutely battered by London at home. And it's like, what has gone on here?
That has to be up there.
Yeah, definitely. It has to be, no doubt about it. And another few as well. Michael Murphy and Shane Dowling both returning. Have to be up there. In terms of a shock element value, you wouldn't have expected. Well, to be fair, Michael Murphy made the rules from Celtic in the FRC, so we won't say that as a shock. But Shane Dowling returning, I didn't see that coming. Maybe Limerick fans would have seen it coming, but I didn't see it coming at all. And maybe he would have seen this coming, but I didn't at all. Brian Fenton's retirement, 31 years of age, still had a lot in the tank, in my opinion. And for him to just leave like that, retire, I mean, I think that was definitely a shock. I don't know what you think differently, Aaron, about that being shock value.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It was a huge one. Seeing Fenton step away. Like the McCarthy one, I think we saw coming, we could see coming. But the Fenton one was definitely a huge shock in fairness. And then like what some of the other ones you mentioned in there, some kind of surprise results. We're definitely in there. Obviously, Galway beating Dublin was a mad one for me personally, because I was coming back from about a 12-hour flight, coming back from America. Had watched about some of the game because we stopped over in London, so I seen some of the game. Dublin were, I think, leading by 5 points just as we took off. And then when we landed, it was like, Dublin are beat, and I literally thought my phone had broke or malfunctioned or something like that. So that was a bit of a mad moment, in fairness. We'll do a quick quiz then before we wrap things up then. So we have like a football round, hurling round, and then a camogie and ladies football round. So we'll dive straight into it. So first of all, we'll go through an football round, and these will just be all on things that have happened this year. So first one, which county failed to reach an All-Ireland semi-final for the first time since 2009?
Dublin.
There we go. Seamus gets that one.
That's mental.
Yeah, I mean that was kind of a handy one to start with. How many games did Derry lose in 2024 in both league and championship?
5.
There we go. 2-0. Which county received the biggest defeat in the league in 2024, Division 1?
Monaghan.
No.
Tyrone against Dublin.
Correct, yeah. Correct. Top scorer in both league and championship?
Shane McGuigan.
No.
Sam Mulroy.
No, it was Con O'Callaghan. So there we go. No one gets that. Clare reached back-to-back Munster finals for the first time since which year? This is football now we're talking about.
1992.
No.
What's the question?
So Clare reached back-to-back Munster finals for the first time since which year?
Because I feel like they've got to the odd one every few years. So it's difficult to know. I don't know. I'm gonna be honest, I don't know.
Yeah, it was 1937. So it's
Okay,
probably one that was going to be difficult for you. Louth defeated Meath in the championship for the first time since which year?
1971.
You weren't far off, to be fair. I think I've given Matthew a bit of a hint there now.
1973.
No, 75. What venue hosted its first ever championship game this year?
In the scheme in Monaghan.
There we go. So we're at
Bonus point for club championship, Kildare's new stadium.
2 apiece. Yeah, no, not quite. Not quite in the list.
That's right. My mind was going.
But here's another stadium one for you. And what stadium do London play their championship games? The actual name.
McGovern Park, Rice.
There we go. Yeah, I think Seamus got there first. So 3-2.
I think my wife was nagging, lads.
Of course it is. So Newbridge beat Glen by a point, but who scored the late goal? So who scored the goal at the end to win it for Newbridge? It's a tough one, in fairness now.
Yeah. I can picture it in my head.
I have 3 surnames in my head. But just pick one.
Conor Doherty.
It
wasn't him anyway, no.
I'm gonna go stab in the dark, McGrogan. I don't know what his first name is.
No, it was Ryan Dugan. So it was probably always gonna be a hard one. Which club won their 13th county title this year?
What code?
Football senior football championship.
I'm gonna say Eric O'Keefe.
No.
Ballina Stevenage.
No, it was Castletown of Wexford. So there we go. 3-2. I suppose those questions maybe were a little bit more difficult than previous years. We have a hurling round here then as well. So who was the top scorer in the All-Ireland Hurling Championship?
Patrick
Horgan.
There we go. Yeah, I think Seamus got there first as well.
That did seem like a bit of a lag, to be honest.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was like, maybe you might be getting done dirty a little bit here or something with the old Kerry Wi-Fi, because I was expecting you to nail that straight away.
Yeah.
But there we go. So 4 Limerick players won 7 Munster titles for the first time. But who are they? So whoever names the most gets this.
Declan Hannon, Nicky Quaid. Keane Lynch.
Well, it wasn't Lynch, but
no. How many players were there?
4.
Graham Mulcahy.
Yeah.
And who's the last one?
David Reedy was the last one.
David Reedy. I wouldn't have got that. I was kind of more thinking Dermot Burns.
There we go. Kilkenny are on a 9-year drought for the All-Ireland hurling title. When was the last time they were on a 9-year drought as well?
1990s, definitely. It's definitely 2002 to 93, I want to say.
No. A little bit off.
I'm going to say 91 to 98.
No, it was actually 48 to 56. So yeah, it's probably another one that you probably. I felt like last year the questions were a bit easy, so I said I'll make them hard this year. Who scored the most in a single game in the championship? So which player scored the most in a single game?
In what code?
Hurling. Senior hurling championship.
League Chin against Antrim.
That's correct. Yeah, that is correct. So 5-3, and what was Patrick Horgan's tally? So whoever gets the closest to it here, entire tally in 2024 in the championship.
I'm going to say, I can't remember it off the top of my head, but I'm going to say 571.
What do you think, Seamus?
Could you repeat the question, sorry?
What was Patrick Horgan's tally in 2024?
That's 571. I'm gonna say 582.
Tell you what, Matthew wasn't far off. It was 574. So yeah, very close, very close there. In fairness, and then who won Division 3B in the hurling league?
Fermanagh.
Wicklow.
No, it was Warwickshire. So there you go. Who did Clare beat in the league final?
Kilkenny.
There we go. It's all a piece now going into the last few ones here. Who finished with the highest tally in the Joe McDonagh Cup final?
Brian Duignan.
No.
Who finished with the highest tally? Charlie Mitchell.
No, it was actually Aaron Dunphy, who finished with yeah. So there we go. Who refereed the All Ireland final? All Ireland hurling
Johnny
final.
Murphy.
Senior. There we go.
No lag there.
Yeah, no lag there at all. It's suddenly working now. Who won the Ulster Club Hurling Championship?
Shawnee.
There we go. 7-5. Right. I think we'll leave it at that then. So there we go. Matthew with the incredible comeback there after being 5-2 down. To pull it back. To be fair, there are some internet issues that I'm hearing have now moved over to Dublin, I think, or wherever you are, Seamus. I think that if you're in Galway or whatever, I think the internet issues have moved over. So yeah, I think that must be the reason why. But there we go. Yeah, anyone who tuned in, let us know your thoughts, your opinions on this year in GA. There will be some more videos still to come between now and the end of the year, so do tune in for them. But until then, we'll speak to you all soon. Hit the like button and subscribe. Make sure to check out the lads' channels as well, on Clay, Gaelic Statsman as well. And until the next one, speak to you all again.